Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome to this video, guys. My name is Liaquat. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. So we are going through Manflooti. All right, so hope you guys are enjoying this. If you guys have any sort of questions or anything, please let me know. Right, so وَمَا هُوَ. So let's have a look at this. So he says, وَمَا هُوَ إِلَّا أَن دُرْتُ بِبَعْضِ تِلْكَ الرِّيَاضِ بعد دورات ووقفت على أزهارها بعض وقفات حتى شعرت أن قد بدلت بنفسي نفسا غيرها وأن بين جنبي حال غريبة لا أهتدي بها بمثلها من قبل وأصبحت أرى الأشياء بعين غير التي كنت أرى بها وأرى فيها من المعاني الغريبة المؤثرة ما يملأ العين حسنا والنفس بهجة. Right, so what is he saying here basically? Yeah. So he says وَمَا هُوَ إِلَّا. So وَمَا means negating. Okay, not هُوَ إِلَّا أَن durtu, it means to revolve. Right, so revolve or to go around, to turn around. It's actually from the root letters. In fact, I'll write it over here. Dara yaduru. Right, so dara yaduru, it means to twist daur. Okay, from the word daur, which means to turn around, revolve, like, to like a 360, to turn around. Yeah, so dara yaduru dauran. So وَمَا هُوَ إِلَّا أَن دُرْتُ. So it was not, so literally translates as مَا هُوَ, it is not except that I turned around. Yeah, or I went through. So durtu can also mean to go through, revolve around, go around. So when you say مَا هُوَ إِلَّا أَن دُرْتُ, what does that mean in English? How do we say that kind of thing in English? We say this and we mean that nothing happened except that I went around. Nothing happened except that I went around. Or maybe you might want to say merely, like you might want to say something like merely. I merely went around. I just about went around. Right, so this is a kind of sentence you might want to use, right, if you want to be a bit brave, bold. وَمَا هُوَ إِلَّا أَن دُرْتُ. Like you're going to use this kind of a sentence if you're going to say that only a short span of time, only a short bit of time went by. بِبَعْضِ, ba'd means some. And then riyad is a jama of rawdah. Rawdah means a garden. Okay, rawdah from riyad al-jannah. Like you probably heard of riyad al-jannah. So ra wa dha. So ببعض دورات. Dawrat is the same, from the same root as durtu. وقفت, we done this before, stand. على أزهار, done this before as well, from the word zahara. بعض وقفات, وقفات is from this word. حتى شعرت, I felt. Yeah, I felt. أن قد بدلت, it means I changed. Okay, so بدلت, I transformed rather. That's a better one. Transformed. بدلت بنفسي نفسا غيرها. What does this mean? So he says, ما هو إلا, not much time went by or nothing happened except that I went through or around ببعض تلك الرياض, with some of those gardens, بعد الدورات, like not too much, a few rounds, a few turns. ووقفت, and I stood على أزهارها, and I stood at the flowers, بعد وقفات, for short standings, for a short while. What is he saying over here in all this? He says that, in other words, I didn't even spend too much time going through the reading, like he describes it as gardens. I didn't spend too much time in these, but I did go through them a little bit. And that little amount of time that I spent going through them, this is what happened. Does that make sense? So this kind of a sentence is a very sort of like an Arabic sentence, you would say. You don't get this kind of sentence in English. And I'm sure if you put it into English, Arabic Google translation, you're not going to come out with a good translation for it. So ما هو إلا أن درت, it was not except that I went around some of the gardens بعد الدورات. درت بعد الدورات. This is what we call a مفعول مطلق. I went like a few turns, a few rounds of the gardens. And I stood وقفت على أزهار. I stood at the flowers. على أزهار does not mean on top of them. It's an Arabic way of saying وقفت على, meaning at the head of or at the side of. بعد وقفات, a few standings for a short while. Okay, then he says حتى شعرت, until I felt قد بدلت بنفسي غيرها. Okay, let's explain this. Until I felt أن قد بدلت, that I had transformed, that I had been transformed بنفسي, with the nafs that I had, نفسا غيرها, another nafs. Meaning that it was as though I had become a new person. بدلت بنفسي نفسا غيرها. It's as though I had transformed, I had changed بنفسي نفسا, the nafs that's other than it. وأن بين جنبي. So جنب, it means sides. Okay, sides. From the root letters Jim, Nun, Ba. حالا. Now, you normally say, for example, let's say there's a human being, and that human being's got two sides. Right, so you got this side and you got this side. So the Arabs usually say, if something's in themselves, they say هذا بين جنبي. Yeah, so جنبي. جنبي, between my two sides in my body. All right, so he says then حالا غريبة, state. حال means state, غريبة means strange. Yeah, it's from the word غين رابة. لا أحد. أحد means knowledge. Yeah, so familiarity, knowledge. بمثلها من قبل. So what does this mean? He says وأن بين جنبي, and that between my two sides in my body there is a حالا غريبة, a strange state. لا أحد لي بمثلها. There was no knowledge for me of something similar to this من قبل, from before. Again, this is another sort of like a bit of a unique expression. لا أحد لي بها من قبل. So أن بين جنبي. So after I had gone through these gardens, or after I had started reading these texts, I began to feel transformation taking place inside of myself, that now in my body there was a strange feeling that I was sensation. لا أحد لي بها, which I had no prior knowledge of. And you want to say in Arabic, I did not know, you can say ما عرفت. And you can also say لا أحد لي بها بمثلها من قبل. That's like a fancy way of saying it. لا معرفة لي بها بمثلها من قبل. Okay, فأصبحت أرى الأشياء بعين غير التي كنت أراها بها. So أصبحت, so I became. So أصبح يصبح, إصباح, to become. أشياء is things, you guys know that already. Okay, so things. بعين, with an eye. غير التي كنت أرى. أرى means to see. بها. So what does that mean? So he says فأصبحت, so I became such that I was seeing things with an eye other than that eye, التي, which, and my eye is feminine, كنت أراها, which I used to see it, بها, with the eye. What is he saying here? He's saying after all of this reading and exposure, what's beginning to happen is I'm feeling a change inside of me now. So I now began to see things in a way with the same eye, but with an eye that was different from the eye that I had before. Like it was a vision that I had, or a sight that I was using that I didn't use before. Does that make sense? So أصبحت أرى الأشياء, I began to see things بعين غير التي كنت أراها من قبل, which I used to see previously. وأرى فيها, and I see فيها من المعاني. معاني means meanings. Yeah, meanings غريبة, strange. المؤثرة, effective. Yeah, powerful. effective. مؤثرة. مؤثرة. ما يملأ, that fills. العين, the eye. حسنا, beauty. والنفس بهجة. بهجة also means beauty as well. It's a kind of beauty that you see when you see like plants and flowers in full blossom. So it is bahja. So he says, وأرى فيها من المعاني, and I began to see in those things من المعاني الغريبة, from those strange, effective, مؤثرة means really effective meanings, that يملأ ما يملأ العين حسنا, that fills the eye with beauty. Like when you see something and you find it beautiful, the Arabs say, هذا ملأ عيني حسنا, this thing filled my eye with beauty. والنفس بهجة, and it filled my nafs with like happiness and beauty. So bahja is like happiness, you can say. Even I can maybe translate it as happiness, might be better over here. Serenity, happiness. All right, so these are very, very nice, powerful sentences if you look at them. Okay, so let's have a look at some of these. وما هو إلا أن درت ببعض الرياض بعد الدورات. It's a nice sentence, that is. See how they use مفعول مطلق here. It was not except that I had simply gone around some of these gardens بعد الدورات, meaning I had gone around them a short while. I had only gone around them for a short while, then this happened to me. Okay, and بدلت بنفسي نفسا غيرها. بدلت بنفسي. Now in the Quran as well, you have something similar like this as well. Yeah, يوم تبدل الأرض غير الأرض. Yeah, so this is a common thing the Arabs used in the past. بين جنبي حال غريبة. بين جنبي حال غريبة. That's a nice sentence, this is. بين جنبي حال غريبة. I like that. Between my sides, there's a strange sensation. لا أحد لي بمثلها من قبل. لا أحد لي بمثلها من قبل. That's a nice one as well. Yeah, basically means that I had no knowledge of this prior. أصبحت أرى الأشياء بعين غير التي كنت أرى بها. I began to see things with an eye that I had not seen with before. Like this inner perception, like inside I've woken up now. My body, my soul has woken up, you can say. ما يملأ العين حسنا والنفس بهجة. That's a nice sentence as well. That which fills the eye with beauty and the nafs with happiness. So as you can see, what he is describing over here is he's describing how his simply going through texts has now started to change him internally. This internal change, he's describing it as a person who's going through a garden and he's experiencing this sensation that he's going through. Okay, so that's basically the sentences that we've got over here. All right. Now let's have a look at, the Arabic. Now, how would we say this in Arabic? So maybe you might say, وَمَا هُوَ إِلَّا أَن دُرْتُ, يعني ما لبثت إلا أن مشيت أو أن يعني تجولت ببعض تلك الرياض ببعض تلك حديقات بعد الدورات بعد التجول. يعني تجولت قليلا، يعني هكذا ممكن نقول تجولت قليلا فقط، إنما تجولت قليلا. ووقفت على أزهارها وقمت أمام ورودها بعد وقفات بعد القيام. يعني وقفت لمدة يسيرة جدا حتى شعرت يعني حتى أحسست أن قد بدلت، أن قد غيرت بنفسي نفسا غيرها. يعني قد بدلت نفسي، قد غيرت نفسي، قد غيرت روحي أو وعي بوعي غيره. وأن بين جنبي، وأن في نفسي يعني حالة عجيبة لا أحد لي بمثلها من قبل. يعني لا معرفة لي بمثل هذه الحالة قبل هذا الوقت. يعني هذا أول مرة أحس بهذه الحالة. فأصبحت أرى الأشياء، فأنا صرت أشاهد الأمور بنظرة غير التي كنت أراها بها، بنظرة غير التي كنت أستخدم أو أنظر بها من قبل، وأرى فيها من المعاني الغريبة المؤثرة، وأشاهد في هذه الأمور من المعاني، من الأمور الغريبة العجيبة المؤثرة التي تبقى في النفس، ما يملأ العين، الذي يعني يملأ، كيف نقول يملأ تعبير آخر، يعني الذي يشحن العين. نعم، يشحن العين، يشحن النظر حسنا جمالا، والنفس والقلب بهجة وسرورا. Okay, so these are kind of like sentences that you guys can try and use these. Ideally, if you can memorize this from here all the way up to here before next session, this would be the perfect thing. Seriously, memorization, I found, especially with my students, it works wonders, honestly. Just with so much. Okay, let's have a go at some questions then. Let's see what kind of questions we can write. All right, so questions then. Questions. Number 1. ما معنى درت؟ ما معنى درت؟ Yeah, what does درت mean? ما معنى درت؟ درت معنى درت تجولت، يعني مشيت في أثناء أو في خلال. طيب number 2. لماذا شعر بهذا؟ Why did he experience this? لماذا? So it's an open question now. So I might say شعر بهذا لأنه بدأ يعني يتوسع في القراءة ويفهم المعاني بشكل غريب. Okay, number 3. You can put your answers in the comments as well. Right, so what else can we say? What other question can we ask? Okay. كيف تشعر حين تقرأ الكتب? How do you feel when you read books? So you might want to adopt some of these words over here as well. You might want to say something like عندما أقرأ الكتب أشعر بحالة غريبة، أو أرى فيها المعاني الغريبة المؤثرة، يملأ العين حسنا والنفس بهجة. Right, so have a go at these. Try your best to try and apply some of these sentences as well. Learn some of the words as well. Honestly, it's going to help you a lot. So Jazakumullah khair, guys. Thank you very much to all my patrons for supporting my channel. May Allah bless all of you people and give you happiness in this dunya and the akhirah. And if anyone wants to support my channel, then please consider becoming a patron or a supporter. Then you can check out the description below. And Jazakumullah khair. I'll see you guys next time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.